So in this video, we're going to work on finding the glute medius muscle. So the glute medius muscle is located on the side of your hip, and it helps with stabilizing the pelvis when you're in a single leg standing position. So we're going to use a block, and then we're going to also use a yellow Theraband. This is an 8-inch loop, and we'll also use a red Theraband, which is also the 8-inch loop. The yellow one is a little easier than the red. So we'll start resting on one side of your body and have the block close by and also the Therabands close by, so you can grab those. And as you rest on your side, you can support your head with your hand and let your arm rest, or you can also rest your head on your arm if that feels better for you. So in this position, you're going to have your knees, your feet, and your hips stacked. And the more that you bring your knees up to the height of your hips, the more likely you're going to feel it into your deeper glute muscles. So we'll start with the knees touching, and make sure that your torso isn't hinged forward. So the tendency will be is to lean forward. So instead, lean back towards the wall. Even here, try to bring your top shoulder back towards the wall. And then lift your top foot away from your bottom foot. Make sure that you're breathing. This is similar to another exercise called clamshells. I call this a reverse clamshell. The important piece here is that your top hip stays on top of your bottom hip. Sometimes the tendency will be to try to bring your top hip forward, which will not allow your knees to stay stacked. So your top knee will start to slide forward. So keep your knees touching. And practice here pressing your bottom foot down as you lift your top foot up. We're going for a sensation in the glute area. Then let's add putting a block narroweth between your knees. You can adjust the block to wherever it feels comfortable if your knees are tender. And then again, holding onto the block, lift your top foot away from your bottom foot. Try to keep your top hip stacked on top of your bottom hip. And have the motion be happening in the hip, but not shifting into the pelvis or the low back. Keep breathing. You can even hold your leg up. And then let's go ahead and try with the block medium width. Again, holding onto the block, lift your top foot away from your bottom foot. Keep breathing. And then notice, can you feel the hip muscles working deep inside the glute? And notice what position you found was easiest for you to feel those hip muscles working. For me, it's the narrow width, but you might have felt it better with your knees touching, or maybe with a little bit more width. So now take your Theraband and you're going to put it around your feet. We'll start with the yellow Theraband and have the block close by. And again, come into the sideline position. Keep your shoulders moving back towards the wall. Lift your knees up so they're in line with your hips. So your knees are stacked, your hips are stacked, and your feet are stacked. With the Theraband, you want to make sure that you're pressing your bottom foot down as you lift your top foot up. This usually will give you more awareness in the deep hip muscles. You might also feel your outer shin working. And you might also feel your bottom hip working too. So you can repeat, or you can hold your feet away from each other. Bottom foot presses down, top foot presses up. If you want to add a little bit more of a challenge, you can point and flex your top foot while keeping it lifted. And keep breathing. If you want to add the block, go ahead and start with it narrow width. Just see how that feels. Bottom foot presses down, top foot presses up. If you're noticing you're starting to shift your hips forward, consider taking the Theraband away. You can also add a small ankle weight if you'd rather. So start slow with this. And then maybe try medium width. If you're having a hard time feeling this muscle work, go ahead and take your hand to your glute and see if you can feel muscles working underneath your hand. You can also draw your heel isometrically back towards you to fire up your hamstring as you're lifting your leg and lowering it. Again, if you want more of a challenge, you can find point to flex your top foot. And then your knees. If you found that to be pretty easy, you could try it with the red Theraband. Now let's try it on the other side. So I would lie with your back against the wall. And make sure your top shoulder is going back and not coming forward. Lift your knees up so your knees and your hips are in alignment. And make sure your feet are stacked. So start with knees together. And then lift your top foot away from your bottom foot. You can always take your hand to your glute and just check in. Can you feel muscles working? Are you breathing? And then try with the block, narrow it. This side might be completely different than the other side. If you have pain or discomfort, at any point you can just go to that degree of where the pain or discomfort is and then come back down. If you feel pain or discomfort with a certain position, then find the position that there's less pain in and do that first, and then work up to adding maybe the block or putting the knees together. And then turn it one more time to medium and lift and lower. Practice here pressing your bottom foot down and your top foot up. You can even hold it lifted and breathe. And then let's return back to the feet touching and add the Theraband. So the knees will be touching. And with your knees touching, your knees as high as your hips, press your bottom foot down and lift your top foot up. So your knees still touch. Keep your top shoulder back. Keep breathing. I like to flare my pinky toe to help me engage more as the outer shin. So this is a great exercise to stabilize your ankle. And then add the block. Narrow it and then lift and lower. Again, you're welcome to hold it lifted. Maybe even add pointing and flexing your foot. We're going for a sensation deep inside your top hip, underneath the glute. And then you can turn it medium lift. So at any point, if you prefer one position, either knees touching, narrow or medium, you can go ahead and do that, opposed to switching and doing all of them. Keep breathing. Release. If those were easy, which they were challenging for me, but you could always move up to the red Theraband. Next, since I'm in the sideline position, I'm going to show you how to use the wall to help with the leg lift, to really isolate into the glute medius. So you're going to lie with your back touching the wall and bring your top shoulder to the wall, bring your hips to the wall, and bend your bottom knee and put your foot on the ground. And the bottom of the foot's going to touch the wall. Then you're going to point your top leg forward. So your top foot is going to be pointing straight ahead. Top knee is going to be pointing straight ahead. Even bring your head back to the wall, touching and pressing into the wall. And then you're going to lift and lower your top leg. Find the breath sequence that works for your body. So do you like to inhale, lift your leg, or exhale, lift your leg? So figure out what works. We're going for a sensation on the outside of the hip. You might not have to lift very high, not even lift for very long to feel it. Make sure when you're lifting, you're not lifting too high, because then you're going to scrunch your low back. So the foot's going to be about 2 feet off the ground, foot pointing straight ahead the whole time. The tendency will be for your foot to turn up towards the ceiling. It's a pretty common compensation when doing this. Now, let's have the internal rotation that we just did. So turn your toes down and kneecap down, but keep your hip back and lift and lower from here. So again, you can lift and lower like I'm doing, or you can hold it lifted. If you're going to hold it lifted, you can also work with turning the toes and kneecap down, and then turning your foot and toes straight ahead, and toe and kneecap down, then toe, kneecap straight ahead. Keep breathing. So if you find this lifting and lowering, or even holding the leg lifted and rotating is easy, you can add the Theraband to your ankles. You can put the Theraband around your ankles, which the first one we put it around the feet, so it's a little bit different. Start with the yellow Theraband, a lighter weight. And this time makes it a bit more of a balanced pose. So both your legs are going to be together, and you're going to lift your leg up and down, trying to keep your heel back against the wall. Start with your kneecap and toes pointing straight ahead. Then you can add turning kneecap and toes down. Keep breathing. Again, you can also hold, which might elicit some shaking. You can also rotate your whole leg down, internal rotation, in neutral, pointing straight ahead. Keep your head pressing back, shoulders moving back, and breathe. And then slowly release. And let's try it on the other side. Go ahead and remove the Theraband from around your ankles. And we'll move onto the side. Bring your head back, shoulders back, hips back. Bottom foot's going to touch the wall. Top heel touches the wall. Your hand can come in front for balance. So again, go ahead and play with just lifting and lowering your top leg, keeping your toes and kneecap and your top leg playing straight ahead. Keep breathing and notice what breath sequence you like to use as you lift your leg up. Do you like to inhale, lift your leg? Or maybe you like to exhale, lift your leg? Maybe you just like to hold your leg lifted and breathe. And then turn the toes and the kneecap down and lift and lower from there. So we're going for a sensation on the outside of the hip. Keep breathing. Keep your head pressing back, shoulders pressing back, top heel pressing into the wall. You can keep your leg lifted and then rotate your whole leg down, trying to keep your hip back, and then toes and kneecap straight ahead, and then toes and kneecap down, and toes and kneecap straight ahead. A few more times. Keep breathing. Don't worry about turning your toes and kneecap up towards the ceiling, just pointing them straight ahead. Good. And if that was easy or you want a little bit more of a challenge, grab the Theraband. I would start with yellow, but if you want to start with red, you can do that. So make sure when you put the Theraband around your legs, you can still go full range of motion. So when you put the Theraband around your legs and you can't go as high, then consider adding maybe a weight instead around your ankle, or just not using the Theraband at all and holding the position a little longer. So head's going to go back, shoulders go back. Top leg's going to be pointing straight ahead, and you're going to lift and lower here. Having your hand in front can be really helpful for balance. Try to keep your toe and kneecap of your top leg pointing straight ahead, and then turn your toes and kneecap down and lift and lower. This will make it even more intense. And then even hold your leg lifted, and then turn, kneecap toes down, and then kneecap toes straight ahead. Keep breathing. Good. And then slowly release. Take the Theraband off with your feet. And then turn to resting onto your back. And come into a bridge pose, arms down at your side, lift your hips up, and just notice, are you feeling more than just the glute maximus working, but are you feeling some of the muscles on the outside of the glutes working? Some more of the glute medius, minimus. And then just go ahead and let your body rest and absorb what we just did in our hips.